Welcome to Questions with Pastor Dave. Questions with Pastor Dave is a weekly YouTube broadcast from Westminster United Methodist Church in Harrod, Ohio, where Pastor Dave Burkhart will answer viewers-submitted questions. And now for your questions.
Well, good evening. It's good to be with you again for Questions with Pastor Dave. And I'm fortunate enough to have with me Amber Rex, who is a pastor who actually used to be a parishioner here at this church. And I just couldn't be more proud of this young lady. She felt the call in her life, and a church opened up, and she was able to go and begin to pastor that church. Got licensed as a local pastor and is now doing course of study school. So Amber, I'm going to let you go ahead and share a little bit about your churches, and then we'll have Keith give us a question, and we'll go from there.
Perfect. I am the pastor at Roundhead United Methodist and Mount Zion United Methodist. We are a 2-point charge, and I have been there around 3 years, and things are going pretty good. So
you kind of got through all that COVID stuff,
right? Yes,
things are beginning to get back to normal.
Yep,
that's pretty awesome.
Starting.
I will say it's been a blessing for me too. Got to serve with Amber on an Emmaus weekend here just a week ago, and man, we had a great time. And
we did.
It was the first time we ever got to work together in ministry like that.
Right.
So
that was fun.
That was pretty exciting. I mean, as pastors, we work together in ministry as a pastor and parishioner, but
absolutely.
Definitely made it fun. So we're going to dig right in. Go ahead and start with some questions. We'll go to Keith, who will give us our first question.
All right, your question for this evening. My husband spent many years being verbally abusive. I did not divorce him because I did not feel it would be right. He is a much different man now and wants to live for God. I am discovering that I'm still very hurt from those abusive years, and I don't know how to heal. I think this is causing division in our marriage.
Thank you, Keith. This is kind of a difficult question, isn't it? Because I know a lot of people go through this. In fact, I really recognize a lot of this in my own life as well. For a long time, I was a really angry soul until I finally came to know Jesus Christ, and a very difficult husband, and not a very good father either. I'm just so blessed that I finally came to know Jesus Christ in such a way that I could unburden my heart of a lot of that anger and be able to live closer to the way that Jesus wants us to live. And so I can understand what this woman's been going through to some extent. I mean, I've seen it from the other side. So I don't think you've probably ever been through anything quite like this, but every marriage has its struggles from time to time.
Absolutely.
So
I think the first thing to tell this woman is forgiveness is hard. And we sometimes don't recognize what that unforgiveness does to us. And really, when we forgive somebody, it's not for the other person. It frees us in so many ways. So one resource lately that I have been using for anyone who's gone through a hard time, who someone else has hurt them, is a book by Lisa TerKeurst. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Lisa. She is an author and a speaker, and she is amazing. She can speak to women like no one else. She just speaks to our hearts, and she really breaks things down and makes everything down to earth, and she is just real life. So her latest book is called Forgiving What You Can't Forget. Discover how to move on, make peace with painful memories, and create a life that's beautiful again. And one nice thing about Lisa's books is they normally come with a Bible study. So I think it would be great for this person to get a group of her girlfriends together, a group from church, to get together and do this study with this book. So what you do, it breaks down a chapter or two each week. You meet, you talk, there's questions that guide you through it, and it's really nice to be able to have that guided conversation. through to figure out your feelings and to kind of navigate through that. And then another resource I would kind of recommend here that I think we don't talk about, I think it's getting talked about more in the church, but it used to be not talked about very much, is counseling or therapy. And I think that this instance would be a really good opportunity for her and her husband to maybe sit down and do some couples therapy and maybe even some therapy on her own to kind of talk about those feelings. Sometimes it's easier to talk about the feelings we have without the other person sitting next to us too. So maybe not only couples therapy, but maybe some one-on-one therapy with either a good Christian counselor or someone good in that field. So
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think you really hit the nail on the head. I've done a lot of marriage counseling and even premarital counseling as a pastor, and while we can help with the biblical side of things, it's very difficult for us to understand all the psychological stuff that goes along with it. I would agree with you wholeheartedly that forgiveness is a difficult thing, and if we could just learn to forgive, we could change a lot of things in this world. Yeah, I agree with the whole idea of doing some counseling, and I don't know about you, but I know I've been to counseling myself. I've needed that, and in fact, my wife and I were just in an automobile accident, and it really takes a toll on you mentally, and sometimes you just need someone to help you through a difficult time. I mean, you know, if you get sick, you're physically sick, you go to the doctor, and so if we're emotionally or we have some mental issues going on, there's nothing wrong with going to see a counselor. It's just almost a given in my life anymore. So, I've talked often about how we have to learn to forgive because even in our Lord's Prayer, it talks about how God will forgive us as we forgive others. So we have to learn how to do that forgiveness. But I think another thing that we need to learn is how to love, and I think that's oftentimes why we get in the situations that we're in, is because we really don't know how to love our spouse, and we don't know how to love our children. And so one of the scriptures that I looked up here just a minute ago was comes from the book of Titus, chapter 2, verses 3 and 4, and in there it says, "In the same way, older women are to be reverent in behavior, not slanderers, not addicted to much wine. They are to teach what is good, so that they may encourage the young women to love their husbands and to love their children." And we don't often think about this, but oftentimes we have to be taught how to love our spouse and love our children. A lot of people think that's something that just comes natural, and it's really not. It's something that we have to learn. I found that out in my own marriage, that I had to learn to love my wife. And you go, well, my goodness, you didn't love her when you married her? And I would say, no, I didn't. And one of the things that really helped me was Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages. I use it in my premarital counseling, and I've given that book to so many people and encouraged them to read it so that they can truly understand what love looks like. So I don't know what kind of resources you use, but that's just been an excellent one.
You actually gave me that book, so now I use that as well. It is really good. It's a great book.
Yeah, I think a lot of marriages could be spared if husbands and wives could learn how to love each other.
Absolutely.
It never works if only one side's involved in it, but if both parties, husband and wife, get involved, it can be an amazing book.
Absolutely.
It can be an amazing book. So learn how to love and learn how to forgive. It may take a visit to a psychologist or a counselor. We always recommend seeking out a good Christian counselor, and oftentimes that can make all the difference in the world. So and the whole forgiveness piece. I know my wife has forgiven me, but every now and then she'll get a little jab in and she'll say, "Ah, you deserve that. Remember how you used to be?" And so I understand what it's like to go through a difficult time. And so we hope what we were able to share with you tonight has been able to help you some. We hope that you maybe learned a little bit and can get the counseling, get the help that you need, and truly be blessed. It's just been awesome to be with you. I thank you for being here, Amber.
Thanks for having me.
And hope to have you back again soon.
When life keeps falling and wonder where he is in all this mess, he's right there to guide you. Unseen, you're not alone. His light shines on the path.